All right, guys, as the video stated, we're going to talk about another build. This is a big horsepower twin turbo Gen 3 Coyote build that I did for Rams defensive tackle Larrell Murchison. Super thankful that Larrell, my good friend, has allowed me to, get him taken care of with this build. It's been super cool. Learned a lot. Grew my skills even more, so definitely thankful for that opportunity. Been fairly busy around the shop. As you can see, got a couple Coyotes in here right now. That build is going really good. A lot of clean work. I'll be doing a video on that one next. And actually, I'm probably maybe on that C10 that I've done a video on. Depends on which one comes first, but yeah, more than likely doing it on that one. But yeah, let's talk about it. Gen 3 car. This car came in bone stock. I don't think it had was maybe an intake manifold, but running rough. So Larrell was like, hey, let's go ahead and build this thing. And let's knock it out the park. So that's what I did my best to try and do. Starting off the motor. This is a FFRE bottom end, one of their stage 3 units, I think. Has some cool stuff done to it, but nothing too crazy. Honestly, it's a bunch of off-the-shelf parts, no custom parts, no billet parts. And then stock heads. Top end was done by Modular Head Shop, Jordan Martin at Modular Head Shop. Got everything taken care of as far as that goes. Stock cams. So, fairly basic build. These Coyotes, they don't really need a whole lot. The goal with this car that we want to run, I think we'll be able to achieve it fairly easy with the combo that we got. Next, looking at the turbo kit, this is Aldo Wells turbo kit, along with TWM Fab. They did the downpipes, did a circle to oval to fit around everything, and also to get the exhaust down in the engine bay. Because typically with this kit, Aldo doesn't sell the exhaust with the turbo kit, so you would have to make your own exhaust. And most people go out the hood or through the fenders, but Larrell didn't want either of those, so that's the option that I came with, and I think it's going to work great. So yeah, and then looking at just some of the details of the turbo kit, just uses some 6870 turbos, 6-inch intercooler. The old standard stuff, nothing too crazy there. As you can see with the coolant system, did a custom coolant system setup. So this actually deleted the coolant tank, and then you will fill up coolant through here. Converted everything over to have it looks fairly clean. Yeah, so it looks pretty good. Get another shot. So yeah, look pretty good. Was a pain in the ass. Been working on getting the coolant tank delete kind of setups mastered, just because these, it's a lot of different coolant passages and whatnot with these cars, and getting the routing and setup and all that stuff is a little tedious, but I think I've got it down packed and it works pretty great. We got the fuel pressure regulator mounted underneath, and as you can see, everything is all AN, 10 AN. This car actually uses a 12 AN feed. That's a Y down there that feeds 10 AN into, it splits from 12 to 10 into the back of the rails, and then 10 out of the front into the regulators, and then 10 back to the tank. I remote mounted the fuel pressure gauge, so we can still see that while everything's underneath. Didn't want to kind of have to be doing all that looking and bending over to see the gauge, so putting it here made it a lot easier to to see the gauge. Converted his heater core hoses over to AN as well, so those run underneath the manifold. Got one that pops down there, and then I got another that pops down and goes under. Another cool thing that I knocked out on the car is a puke tank setup. So TWM, they did the actual tank itself. I just pretty much helped design and kind of just plan out everything. So these lines, they actually go from here because Gen 3 doesn't have a really good way to vent on this side. This is the PCV nipple. It's kind of molded into the valve cover, so there's no real way to get a good exit on the driver's side. So I did two 12 AN bungs on the passenger side. They run underneath the car, and then they come down here. And this is actually the puke tank and the catch can for the coolant overflow, the catch can, transmission, and then also be for the rear end as well. They all dump out into there, and then vents underneath the car. Relocated the battery, as you can see as well. Melee design mounts, A1. I love it. Just to pull a pin right there, pop the lid open, and if you ever need to take the battery out. Got all his electronics to power the car. The car uses a quad hat fuel system. Pretty much I buy the quad hats and then set them up how I like. So that's what this one has, and works great. I mean, you could definitely supplies you with enough fuel to go, 150 plus in the 8th mile. That's what I've tested it with my personal car, with plenty of headroom left. So that fuel system works pretty great. So one of these this one right here controls the fuel system pumps, the 4 pumps. And then I got this one controlling all the rest of the electronics. So like the onboard air, the trans brake, the boost leash, and then the post leash, so on and so forth. So yeah, that's the gist of the electronics in the back. Not a whole lot to see there. So I'll move on. You can also get an idea of it's a shifter, using a Motion Racework shifter. Came out pretty clean. And then also, as far as some of the details about the transmission swap, so I use Pro Performance for all my Turbo 400 swaps. Great company, great people, Dave and Renee over at Pro Performance. They do an excellent job of building transmission, offering great customer service, and just doing a really good job at what they do. So I always try and like to support them. This car also got just a couple of, actually, before I get underneath the car, like I said, this car also got a couple of suspension upgrades. I personally like to run Sand Tough, so we did some Sand Tough front coilovers on the car, along with I pretty much did a custom wire tucking fuse box and ECU relocation for this area. So got the fuse box all mounted up and stuff, and then got there, all the wires ran and tucked all nice. So once we put the fender line on, all of this will be covered up and you won't be able to see any of this. So yeah, that came out really great. It's very, very tedious, very, very, very tedious process to kind of extend all these wires. I think this relocation, I probably had to extend roughly about 120 wires from the fuse box to get everything over there, but it turned out great. He won't have to have any heat issues. Nothing aftermarket even runs to this fuse box. Everything is on his complete separate system, so he really should never have a reason to touch the factory fuse box or the factory ECU at all. So yeah, that came out pretty great. So moving on to some of the details underneath the car. I got 2 wire zip tie I need to cut off, but uses 210 AN feed. So drain for the turbos. Just did a Y off of the front of the pan and going up to each of the turbos. I got the waste gates, of course. And then you can kind of get an idea of the exhaust layout. I know you probably want this bolt just to tie this wire off. It's also tied off right there as well, but just to keep it back from the exhaust. But yeah, tight fit, but everything clears. Always, guys, if you're doing any mid mounts or any turbo kits that run near the starter, I like to wrap it. Make sure that starter doesn't heat up and cause you any problems when you're trying to start the car up. But yeah, also, like I stated, use Pro Performance for the Turbo 400 itself, and I use JPC for the swap kit. Those guys pretty much got the swap down pack. I don't see any reason to use anybody else or anything else when doing a turbo 400 swap. Like I stated, got a 12 AN feed for the main, and then that's the return line that runs back to the tank. I use these billet clips and riv nutted them into the frame where I could to run these lines and keep it nice and tucked up and you know, inside above the frame rail. As you can see, that's fucking mint right there, man. I mean, that's fucking just looks great. So like I said, use those to tie everything off, and then zip tied where I needed to if I had extra lines to run as well. And this is that main line that you seen coming off the engine. So yeah, it looks great. Looks great. And then of course, just transmission fan and transmission cooler. I'm gonna need to zip tie that off. Then we got the vent for the puke tank, and then the drain for the puke tank right there. Drain, vent. So yeah, this build came out pretty damn good. Once again, super thankful that I was even able to, you know, build something like this. So yeah, I look forward. We're about to start the tuning process with Lund Racing. They're getting the tuning knocked out on this thing. Let this thing down. They're getting the tuning knocked out. So far, it's running pretty good and pretty smooth. I mean, you know, for it to be expected with this car has ID 2600s, you know, locked out cams, direct injection delete. So it's going to take a couple of revisions. We're pretty much on the first revision for the car. So once we get a few more revisions in, I'm sure we're going to get this thing running even better. But I'll do a quick start up. If the key is in here, I think the key is. Oh, yes it was. So yeah, she's a little jumpy at idle right now, but that'll clear up once we get a couple revisions in. So yeah, man, I'm super excited about this build. Can't wait to see how everything turns out. Know that it's not running water. If you were wondering, that the water didn't come from the car, just filled it up with coolant. So that's why I got a little extra on the ground. But as I was stating, super excited, ready to see where this car takes us, see how fast we can go with it. If you interested in getting something similar built like this, definitely don't hesitate to reach out. We'll get straight over at JuiceBuilt.